In today's video, I'm going to cover Gutenberg 16.7. This will be the final, with air quotes, version that's going into WordPress 6.4, which will be shipping in a couple of months. So I just wanted to touch upon a few features here that I think might be important to you if you're trying to stay up to date with what's happening, certainly in WordPress 6.4 that's coming, and of course in the world of Gutenberg. If you don't already know this, the version of Gutenberg, which is just called editing or block editor inside WordPress, isn't the most recent, depending on what version of WordPress you have. You have to go and install Gutenberg as a standalone plugin to test out some of these features and keep yourself up to date. So if that's how you want to stay up to date with Gutenberg, certainly watch this video or install Gutenberg on a staging site. I'm, of course, running my demo site here on InstaWP. That way I don't have to break anything on my own servers, which is always a benefit. Okay, Gutenberg 16.7, as I said, headed into WordPress 6.4, though that might change. We might see some additions or subtractions along the way, but I think some of the features I'm going to show off today are pretty core to the experience of what we're going to see. Okay, if I go into the site editor and I start to customize a template, we can go into the typography section, and the typography section will have this sort of new font management. Not sort of, it is a new way of managing fonts inside of WordPress, and it's independent of the WordPress theme that you have active. So if you ever switch themes in the future, those fonts won't be assigned to that particular theme that you are switching away from. It's just global to the entire WordPress install. It gives you that flexibility to swap themes if you're somebody who's changing themes quite often. So we have our font management box on the right-hand side here. I'm going to click on the DM Sans, and you can see that there are some check boxes here, and you can enable and disable the different variations of the DM Sans font, or you can install fonts directly from Google or upload your own fonts to your WordPress website. So I'm just going to search for Open Sans. It will find that from Google, and then I can activate these different variations of the Open Sans font. I'd love if there were a checkbox up top. That way I could just check off all the variations, but I'll just go through and check off the 12 variations that we have, click on Install. That'll pull them in from Google, bring them into my WordPress website, and then I'll go back to my font management screen, and you can see right up top, there's Open Sans, 12 of 12 variations active, or I can drag in my own font library right at the bottom of this page. You can click that and upload it, or bring it in by dragging it onto your screen. So managing fonts, a little bit easier, a little bit more flexible for you in the upcoming version of certainly Gutenberg, but WordPress 6.4. For this next update, I'm going to kind of work it backwards. We're going to talk about patterns and the new way that you can label, export, and categorize patterns in the upcoming Gutenberg 16.7 and WordPress 6.4. And we're going to start on the page. So I'm going to add a pattern here so we can kind of see this play out. This doesn't matter. I'm just going to add any pattern here. This is a featured pattern here. It's kind of got a nice headline with a couple images. Looks great. What we can do is go into a list view, and we can now rename these groups. This is a group of blocks, which is also known as a pattern, apparently. So the naming convention gets still a little bit interesting. So I'll just say Matt's group. And you'll see in the upper left-hand side that now the group is called Matt's group. This is just a easier way to classify the patterns and the groups of blocks that you're working on a particular page, make life a little bit easier for you. Now, what we can do here is also click on the dots and create a pattern out of this. So let's say I really like this pattern, even though I pulled it in from the open WordPress library, and now I want to customize it. Maybe I'm making some changes of my own, and I want to save this as a pattern that I'm going to reuse throughout the entire website. I'm going to click on Create Pattern, and we can now name this a pattern, or give this pattern a name. So we'll say Matt's pattern. And again, this is just locally to your WordPress site. This isn't getting broadcasted to the larger WordPress pattern library. And then we can give it a category. So I don't know, we'll just pretend I'm in sales and marketing. So I'll just say, you know what, the marketing team might want to use this, and the sales team might want to use this pattern when they're building out different websites. And then, is this pattern synced? In other words, will this pattern be used across the entire site so that when we make changes to it, it's changed throughout the entire site? I'm going to leave this checked off as yes. I would imagine that most of us are going to be creating synced patterns. Like that's like one of the biggest benefits of it for me. I don't think the one-off patterns is really a thing, but hey, maybe it is. So we'll hit create, and that'll go and store that inside of the pattern library, which we'll take a look at in a moment. So you can see now it's a synced pattern. You can tell by that purple color, it says Matt's pattern, and then still Matt's group within that pattern, right? So it's keeping that organization nice and clean for us when we're editing sites and we want to remember where we're at. Okay, let's go into the site editor. Let me just hit update on this. We'll go to appearance, editor, and we'll go to the pattern library, and you'll see here, there's Matt's pattern on all the way to the far right. We can click on My Patterns. Again, this is all categorized now, so if I'm creating multiple patterns, it'll be in there. Since I gave it the label of marketing and sales, it'll also be in the marketing and sales folders as well. So if I'm mixing and matching different departments, different design components for different departments, this is going to make life really easy for you, especially if you're working on a pretty large team within your WordPress website. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I think it's a great direction for moving all of these different patterns around. Last update that I want to talk about is if we click on the dots again, export as JSON, we can actually export this stuff onto our desktop and then bring these patterns easily into the next WordPress website that we're working on. So if we're playing with stuff in a staging environment and a production environment, and we want to play with different patterns, different layouts, we can quickly move that around in a nice crude fashion by exporting and uploading. But more importantly, I think where it's going to really make an impact is if you're a freelancer or an agency and you're repeating the use of patterns over and over again, or you built something really cool for one client and you want to share that with another client. I think exporting and importing these patterns through JSON is going to be really, really convenient. So that's my quick update, quick as in like 9 minutes update of what's coming into Gutenberg 16.7, WordPress 6.4. You let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thumbs up if you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want more. We're on the march to 15,000 subscribers. Thanks everyone who has watched this content over the years. Yeah, go to the wpminute.com/subscribe, join our weekly newsletter. I send out a 5-minute podcast and newsletter update every week about WordPress. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.